Okay, we're here in the mothership with Mark Workington, who won the race in 6 hours, 16 minutes, and 37 seconds. We've tried to warm up Mark with as many towels as we could bring and some warm water. But Mark, how was that race?
That was the hardest thing I've ever done. That was brutal, and it was really hard swimming that long in the dark, and I couldn't see the kayakers. They were helpful, but it was really hard. They were silhouettes, so emotionally, that was a really tough race.
Were you cold?
I didn't get cold until I finished. I was more frustrated by the conditions. Just I felt like I was swimming into a head chop most of the race, and I kept hoping that at any moment it was going to stop, and that we'd get the current at our back, but for almost the entire race, I felt like I was swimming into a head chop, which was pretty frustrating.
You won the race, and you beat the English Channel world record holder. What was your strategy to actually do the race as opposed to break the record?
Yeah, I knew the record was kind of out of control, out of my control. You know, it's up to the currents. So my main goal in that race was to beat Stoichev, and I said, you know, my plan was, if you beat Stoichev, then you know the record will either take care of itself, or in what happened, the record didn't take care of itself. But my goal was to try and beat him up early, and kind of get him emotionally discouraged, so that you know, in a race this long, emotions are kind of the main aspect of you know, whether you swim well or not. And I felt the best way to beat him was to discourage him on the first 2 hours, and I thought it worked. And then he caught me. It felt like about 2.5 hours, and I thought at that point that it was going to be a really miserable rest of the race. But somehow I kicked it into another gear for about another hour or so, and apparently I made a little bit of a wedge between myself and him, which it was my main goal to beat him coming into the race. So I accomplished that, and I'm happy with that.
When you were about 2.5 hours and you had about a 100-meter lead on Peter, then he came back up. He was literally on your heels, and your stroke didn't look good. And how did you get over that hump? What helped you get beyond that little point there?
Well, he went for a feed. He caught me, and then he went for a feed. And I don't know if he went, it felt like he went a little bit to the right, and I moved a little bit to the left. And all of a sudden, it just felt like there was within a couple of seconds, it felt like there was 25 yards of separation. It wasn't necessarily that I was 25 yards in front of him. I just felt like I was 25 yards away from him. And getting that separation psychologically, I think, was really good for me, and probably hurtful for him, because he spent so much time, probably spent a lot of energy trying to catch me, and then he goes for a feed, and suddenly within a couple seconds we're 25 yards apart from each other. And I think that at that moment, I don't know if I just got a little mini adrenaline rush or what exactly it was that happened, but he caught me, and then very quickly we separated. And I think that was a pretty significant moment in the race.
And when you actually made that separation, then you were coming around Battery Park, the lower part of Manhattan. And I don't know if you were aware, but there was ferries, there was boats, there were sailboats all coming towards you. Did you ever have any moment of fear? Were you scared at any point if a boat, a ferry was going to run you over?
I didn't see any boats or ferries. What I was very afraid of was my kayakers. Though they did have a little light on their forehead, like a miner's light, there was a bunch of times where their lights got lost in the skyline. And because, you know, they were basically dark entities, I lost them. And I didn't necessarily see any other ferries, but when I couldn't see my kayakers, there was a couple of really scary moments where I felt very, very alone, very much alone out there at a time when I didn't want to be alone.
And is there any part of your body that's hurting now? Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is almost an hour longer than I've ever swam before. Never swam at night, and one of the only races I've swam for the majority majority of the race completely by myself. My body hurts, but that's common. I think I'm just pretty emotionally beat up. It's tough to swim that long by yourself.
And as soon as you touched the finish, how did you feel? What emotions, overcame you?
I actually felt really cold, really cold after touching. It was almost like it happened almost instantaneously. I went from in the race to being really cold, relieved that it was over. I think I felt I had a pretty strong, feeling that I was off the record. So when I touched and I found out what my time was, I wasn't necessarily discouraged, because I felt pretty strongly that if I was on or ahead of pace, my kayakers probably would have been yelling at me my time. But when they stopped yelling at me my time, I think I felt pretty strong that I wasn't on record pace. So when I touched, it was more just a relief to be done, and relieved that I knew that I had beaten Stoichev.
Well, congratulations. Now you've got this special invitation swim under your belt. Now what do you look forward to as you look towards 2012? Normal
10K World Cup and FINA races, with buoys and a bunch of other people around in daylight. It's good. I think it's a good emotionally. It's good to be able to say you swam around Manhattan. It's a good experience to accomplish it and to do it, but it's definitely not something that I want to do next week.
Well, congratulations, Mark. Is there anything you want to say to your son and wife, family?
Where are you? Yeah, I was thinking about my son for a lot of that race. I just wanted to give him a hug. So hopefully we can find him pretty soon here.
Congratulations, Mark.